The United Kingdom has over 600 islands. Wild, archaic countryside surrounded by the ever-present sea. Whether high up in the north or down in the south, whether large or small, they are all islands of the Queen. Pristine nature. An environment that has been preserved by its inhabitants for thousands of years. The Isle of Man, an island that lies in the midst of the Irish Sea between Ireland and England. Officially, the island belongs to the Crown, Queen Elizabeth II, yet it has its own laws and its own currency. Its crest is the three legs that symbolize its resilient people. More than 80,000 people live on the island, where many things remain that have become history elsewhere. It was the first country in the world to be declared a biosphere reserve by UNESCO. An honor that denotes a way of life in harmony with nature. The isolated Irish Sea offers a sheltered habitat for many different animals. Vikings once settled these shores. After them, the Norwegians and Scottish came over the seas. What remains is a unique language and fauna from times gone by. A landscape that is carefully cultivated or left to its own devices. It's 5 o'clock in the morning in the small port town of Peel, the start of a long day for the local fishermen. They're heading for the mussel beds along the coast. They're fishing for queenies, a smaller relative of the scallop. Fishing regulations here are very strict.
These are just the tows where we've been working. And this is a closed area that we're not allowed in. Deaf for fisheries. They do it, and between Bang and University as well, scientists there do it, and they just take surveys and they work out the best areas, the best breeding grounds and stuff like that, and then they come from there and figure out where's the best area to have it closed.
Queenies can only be found in the waters around the Isle of Man. The restricted areas will only be reopened once the population has recovered, a regulation intended to benefit fishermen in the long term.
I went to try some other stuff and just come back to fishing. It's just my dad's boat, it's family business, got a lot of family in it. Just wanted to do it. So I just put my head down and tried getting the boat, and then I got it. So now I wouldn't go do anything else.
The nets can only be put out at 6 o'clock, and the fishermen are only allowed to fish for 12 hours. The net is dragged through the water for an hour before it's pulled up for the first time. The net is lowered to just above the ocean floor to ensure it doesn't drag along the bottom and cause any damage. Aside from queenies, there is little bycatch. If a fish is caught in the net, it's soon set free. The mussels are immediately washed and separated from what little bycatch there is.
for about 30 years with a net, and before that they used to use the metal dredges. This area is very, very good for queenies, very, very thick on the ground. It's quite a particular market. I think it's only grown up in the last 10 or 15 years. I think the French like the queenies a lot. They're sold more internationally than they're used in England. Well, I've always liked physical work, more hands-on, keep myself fit, and it's kind of a dying art now, mending nets and splicing ropes and stuff, so it's a good trade to have, I think. Half of the world kind of works to feed the other half, so it's like being a farmer of the sea.
The 5th of July is a special day on the Isle of Man. The national parliament, the Tynwald, comes together and is celebrated by the local Manx people. The first recorded Tynwald Day was in 1417. The tradition is a nod to the event's Viking heritage. The Tynwald is the longest continuously serving parliament in the world. The Royal Air Force comes to the island for this special day.
On guard! General salute! Present! On!
The Queen is ever present.
The Isle of Man cuts its own way in the world, and that means that it's got a parliament, famously being celebrated today, and longer than even the parliament over in London. So it makes all its own laws. The Isle of Man, the Manx laws, are unique to the Isle of Man, and it does its own finances. It raises its own taxes, its own expenditure, gets nothing from London, doesn't ask for anything either. And that suits the people of the island. So that is this rather curious status of being autonomous, but not an independent sovereign country.
And with perfect timing, the Manx weather has turned beautiful as the sword of state precedes the Lieutenant Governor.
Even the person who represents the Queen here, the person who does my job, is selected by the island, not chosen in London. They have no say in it. And then that nomination goes through to the Buckingham Palace and the Queen, and of course it is the Queen's appointment, it's the Queen's choice, but the selection in my case and my predecessor as Lieutenant Governor of the Isle of Man was made here on the island by the island authorities. People of the Isle of Man feel different from elsewhere, even though their links both to the United Kingdom and to Ireland are quite strong. They're very happy to be just a bit different.
On the public holiday, all the laws that were passed in the year are openly read out, in English and the local language, Manx Gaelic. Citizens can hand in a petition if they feel their interests are not being addressed.
I shall refer these petitions to the Standing Orders Committee of Tynwald, who will report thereon at their earliest convenience.
After many years as a Member of Parliament, this is the last session for Kristian, the Parliament's President.
Well, it was quite emotional in some ways. I've been here 31 times now, so it'll be very strange next year. I'll come, of course, but I shan't be sitting on the hill.
The island is a mecca for motorbike racers, and many come for the so-called tourist trophy. But once the tourist bikers leave, the roads once again belong to the locals.
I've always ridden a motorbike since I was 17 and always competed in various trials and whatever on bikes. Oh, as long as I'm on my bike, I'm happy enough. Wherever I am, really.
Nancy is a member of the Vintage Motorcycle Club, which organises regular rides.
It's only a small place, but it's got everything here. We've got mountains and rivers and lovely motorcycle country, and it's just all good.
Hello. Nancy, lovely to see you. Mwah, mwah. Would you like to come with me into my shed and we'll have a look at what we've got?
Nancy is meeting Tony East, the president of the motorcycle club. They're discussing the route for the next tour.
About going from Kirkmichael.
Yes. Take the coast road.
Take the coast road and go past that place.
Devil's Elbow.
Devil's Elbow, yes. And I'll warn everybody not to go too fast because we don't want any accidents.
No.
And then we will carry on to Peel, where there'll be loads of people down there.
Over 60 bikers and their machines are gathered on Tony's estate.
Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to our VMCC run out this afternoon with refreshments at the end. Now, the route that has been chosen is quite easy, so let's do it.
Motorbikes are a part of the scenery on the Isle of Man, at any time of year and in any weather.
But there has to be a certain element of danger to give you a focus, to give you a challenge. If everything was easy, there would be no challenge or focus in it. And everyone knows the dangers.
Every year, there are still fatal accidents, usually overconfident tourists. But the roads are dangerous, even for local riders. Nancy's husband is no longer amongst them.
He was unfortunately killed 3 years ago as a passenger down at Billawan, the Southern Hundred. Yeah, but he, we used to race together for years and years, and yeah, but well, so I carry on without him now. Otherwise, it's a case of might have to buy some knitting needles or something.
Is a shepherd on the Isle of Man. Today, he's bringing a ram to an island off the coast. The passenger doesn't seem particularly keen on the journey.
He doesn't realise he's gone on his holidays yet.
This is a Lockton sheep, a breed endemic to the Isle of Man.
Basically, to help with the breeding programme. We don't want the breed to become too inbred. They start from a very small genetic base because they're a rare breed. So today we'll be taking another ram across, which will then serve us to use there this autumn. And it gives us a different bloodline to continue with breeding the Locktons on the Isle of Man.
The Calf of Man is a nature reserve off the coast, a small island half a mile from the Isle of Man. This is the only way to get there, even for a stubborn ram.
Ready to receive passengers? Yeah, I'd say well.
This one is a bit of a character, and he's called Warrior. Normally, Lockton rams either have 4 or 2 horns. Now, when the Warrior started off in life, he had 4 horns, but obviously he's been doing a bit of fighting since then, and he's now got 3. He's not pretty, but he is a bit of a fighter and a bit of a scrapper, but he comes from a good line of Lockton sheep. He's got a very good body and good colour, and that's a bloodline that we want to put onto the Calf of Man to help improve them over there.
The shepherd and his ram are brought to the island by Juan Clag. He's been in charge of the shuttle service between the islands for 40 years. Former teacher Anne is often on board. She used to take her classes on nature trails and now accompanies the captain on his trips. Every year, this high jutting rock, known as the Sugarloaf, is a breeding ground for tens of thousands of seagulls and guillemots. Warrior has made it to the end of his journey. Endless freedom for the proud ram with a most important mission ahead of him.
The girls always go for the difficult ones, don't they? The trouble, so they always like guys that get into trouble. You'll do the job really well for us over on the Calf, I'm sure.
Alongside the countless sheep, there are also 2 people living on the island. Together with a colleague, Richard Cope runs the ideally located bird sanctuary.
Its situation in the middle of the Irish Sea leaves it very well placed to be at the real kind of crossroads of migration from birds moving down from Iceland, Greenland, even perhaps as far as the Canadian Arctic, coming obviously from the northwest, meeting up with birds coming from the northeast right into almost Central Asia. Some of the species we get here from sort of right across into China.
Over 100 species of bird populate the Calf of Man in springtime and autumn. With the help of animal-friendly traps, the ornithologists determine which species have come to the island to breed. Every visitor is ringed.
Ringing's just a tool really in the bigger picture of migration monitoring, breeding bird monitoring as well. Here we don't actually have any constant effort sites elsewhere in the country to look at productivity from year to year with changes of ratios of adults to young birds.
Catching, weighing and measuring a bird takes all of 2 minutes.
Species like the willow warbler, mostly the young birds moving through at the moment. They're heading on south into sub-Saharan Africa. They'll spend their winter starting to come back up here again in April. Today not being a bad day, as you see, nice weather for migration, really light winds and clear skies is just what they're looking for to get a head start on their journey south. That was 8 or 9 grams, is nothing for something like that to be travelling that far. Yeah, maybe it was a bird born on the Isle of Man, but it could well have been a bird born up in northern Norway. So real distance for such a small bird. when I talk to my friends at home, and they're just sat there doing a 9 to 5 in the real city of London, a lot of them, and complaining about the traffic or the M25 or the commuter trains and how crowded it all is, and there's me out somewhere like this and just saying, yeah, we had to wait a bit this morning. That was as hard as it got. So we sometimes lose perspective a bit on sort of how lucky we are to be out somewhere like this compared to being a lemming in the city, really.
Garth Man is run as a bird observatory and as a bird reserve, and the Lochtons play a very important part in keeping the habitat right for the birds. If you removed all the sheep from the Garth of Man, it would very quickly revert to very rough pasture and eventually back to scrubland. The Lochtons are the only unique animal for the Isle of Man. They're very, very ancient as a breed. They probably originated back in the Iron Age or Neolithic times. They live quite a wild life, so they only get gathered 2 or 3 times a year. So they're not easy to gather. On a day like this, it's a bit better because it's a bit cooler for them. But on a hot summer's day, it can be very, very difficult getting them gathered in. I enjoy it because obviously I enjoy island life, and I've always lived on islands. I grew up on a family farm on the west coast of Scotland. It was an isolated island with no electricity, no shops, just one family. So it was a very simple existence and quite a simple childhood in some ways. I've always been around sheep, and from an early age was very, very keen on them, and I actually had my first sheep of my own when I was 10 years old. I had 4 that my father gave me, and they became my own flock for many, many years. It's hard work. It's one of the toughest sheep gathers I ever do, because clearly, the geology of the island makes it difficult because they can get on the cliffs and things. So I've had a lot of adventures doing it. The fact they've survived, I think, is fantastic, really, because they very nearly died out, and they were down to very low numbers some years ago. But now there's enough enthusiasts breeding them that hopefully we'll keep the breed alive for a lot longer, perhaps another 1,000 years.
Between the nature reserve and main island lies Kitterland. At low tide, the small rock is a resting place for grey seals from all over the Irish Sea. Not far from the main island lies Castletown. Once a year, it hosts a very special event. Dave Kelly has been a part of it for over 30 years. Dave is competing as a racer in the World Tin Bath Championships. Only authentic tin baths are allowed in the competition. Alongside the display of athleticism, performances are rated for their originality. Dave thinks up a new slogan every year. June supports her husband, both practically and emotionally. Everything has to be firmly anchored. Decades of experience means Dave won't be making any schoolboy errors. He knows the perils of these waters.
If we don't get these 4 canes right, everything I put on the superstructure will just collapse. And when a bit of wind out in the harbour there, it'll make a mess.
He's got a good insurance policy.
This year, the Queen is on board. That the inflatable doll was possibly intended for other uses doesn't bother the Kellys. On the contrary, they consider it an honour.
we honour the Queen. She is Lord of Man, so even though we have our own government, we will show respect by respecting her on today. It's done in a little bit of fun. We know the Queen has a sense of humour, and I'm sure she'll enjoy her trip on it in back in Castletown Harbour today.
I'll take good care of her.
Other contestants are trying a dry run.
Try to get one at the first to sink, isn't it? That's what you're trying to do.
And this is a practice, because I haven't actually been in water yet with it. I'm told that it's quite a deep bath, so that's good. A little bit longer than some of the others, so very confident. Probably of a top 3 place, yeah.
Are they all right? It's lovely weather for this. It's just a bit breezy is the word for that one. So we'll have to take a bit more care than normal.
Good luck, guys. All these months of training.
The race fee goes to a good cause, so the winners will always be the less fortunate on the island. The race is not just an expression of the unique Manx humour, but a show of the island's solidarity and support for each other.
I haven't seen Collie yet, but he must be about somewhere yesterday over there, I think, with his hat on. Collie? Are you ready? On your marks, set, go!
Dave knows slow and steady wins the race. With constant strokes, he navigates his tug with his royal cargo through the harbour. Too much ambition is risky. Dave has reached the turning point. The hardened racer knows that the competition will run out of steam. The lifeguards see no cause for concern. Yet.
Was the 2016 Tom Parry. Her Majesty the Queen with David Kelly is going to get another top 10 place. Fantastic effort, David, well done.
The capsized vessels are retrieved, and Dave is delighted to have completed the race without getting wet once again.
A bit windy out there, wasn't it?
Although he expected a little more from
That's how
his
much
passenger.
water I collected. She didn't help very much today. She was just enjoying it, the free ride, sitting on her throne. But, everything survived in place, which proves it worked.
What started as a bit of fun 45 years ago has long become tradition on the Isle of Man. And that's something that's very close to the locals' hearts. To the 19th century. It has been lovingly cared for since its arrival in 1873.
When I was at school, I wanted to be a physiotherapist. And then I came down here one summer and, like I say, the rest is history. I had a friend who worked down here, and he said he had the best time of his life working down here in the summer, and I should go try it. So I said, why not? Came down, give it a whirl.
Paul has now been looking after his temperamental locomotive for 12 years.
She drives nice, she's very powerful. So at the moment she's my friend. But not so long ago she had a few problems and she was a terrible one to try and fire, to get any steam out of it. She was just stubborn. But no, she's going well now.
Keeping the old railway in shape is a daily challenge.
It's very hard to get spare parts. We have a workshop crew down here who do everyday maintenance and they sort of keep on top of stuff, but major stuff like boilers have to be sent away. They buy like springs and stuff, they buy in bulk. That sort of stuff's quite well made, but a lot of stuff, so small pins and all that sort of stuff they do back in the workshops.
The workshop runs on an old steam engine. the same one that began its work here with the old railway in 1873. The old railway tracks cut grooves into the large metal wheels, so they need to be regularly filed smooth. Largest towns on the island. It is still in exactly the same condition as it was when it started running. The railway has never been modernised.
We're a bit slow here, so it takes a while to get electric trains, but yeah, it's a unique place, and like you said, people from all over the world visit the Isle of Man just because of the railways.
Is still being used today. The nostalgic journey is over 26 kilometres long and leads from the capital Douglas to the small harbour town, Port Erin.
People say in Camoe, when you go on a steam engine, you like that clack, clackety clack, and that's the noise, and that's what makes it unique, and that's the romantic thing about it. The reason I look out to the right is because normally you look through your window, but you have to try and look around the big brass dome in the middle, so I just find it easy to hang out the side and look around the whole front. And then my fireman, when we go around the blind corner, he looks out around the other side for me, so there's always two sets of eyes looking on the track.
The 19th century signalling system has never failed.
We're single line running, so we work on a staff and ticket system. Basically, that staff I took from Douglas to Castleton gave me priority to run that bit of track. So I can drive safely knowing there's going to be no more of a train than that, and then at Castleton I swap over, and then you can carry on down a set of track. It's fantastic, it's brilliant. Like when you obviously, with the modern age of computers and iPads and all that, to still be driving on something that's so old is, yeah, I can't put it into words. Like I just drive along with a smile on my face.
The Isle of Man has been inhabited for 8,000 years. Still today, parts of its everyday life serve as a mirror of the different epochs that played out on these shores. At the same time, the younger generation are making the island their own. The Isle of Man is an El Dorado for bikers. But it's not only the motorised two-wheelers that take on the island's roads. Many professional cyclists come from this small isle.
I'm Amelia Sharp and I'm 15 years old. I like cycling up hills. Hills are my favourite. The Isle of Man as a place it's very hilly and there's a lot of variation in landscapes. And because it's quite small, there's enough rides to do and you can't really get lost because it's small. But there's so many roads and lanes and there's just so many places you can go that are good for riding.
Cycling is far more than merely a hobby.
I always cycled since I was little. I've kind of tried a few other sports around like 10 and 11, but then they got a bit boring, so I kind of just always went back to cycling. And then I kind of just like progressed and I'm where I am today.
Amelia can spend 3 hours a day on her bike. She's set her sights high.
It is challenging trying to make it as a cyclist, but if you're good, then you can get somewhere. But there's Commonwealth Games coming up in, not sure when it is actually, it's like 2020 or something like that. And I would like to participate in that for the Isle of Man. Yeah.
The instigator of these races is Dot Tilbury.
Tommy.
The grand dame of cycle racing on the Isle of Man has been organising the Tuesday nights for years. A junior race for anyone.
Braden.
Up to 300 children and teenagers take part on one evening, and these races have produced some world-class cyclists.
Looks like a tennis.
Ready.
Okay. Every week I also participate in Tuesday nights. Anyone can come here and you see the age groups. There's like a variety of age groups. And my race is like the oldest race there on obviously these droppy bikes. You basically do 25 laps, like full gas, and whoever crosses the line first wins. They're a really good training event because you obviously race with the boys and they're a lot faster. As a woman, it's a lot harder because there's more opportunities now than there ever was, but there's still slightly less than there is for men. And women get paid a lot less than the men do, which is, I think it's unfair, but it's just the way it is, really. Mark Cavendish and Pete Kennick started at them. That's where they started their cycling as well. That's where most people on the Isle of Man started their cycling, to be honest, them events. Run by Dot Tilbury, obviously you met the other day, which is really good, yeah.
The north of the island is popular with cyclists and is sparsely populated. Here lies Ballavere Farm. The isolated highlands offer a habitat for some very special animals.
The breeds are from the Scottish Isles. They mostly originate from around the Dumfries and Galloway area. I introduced them to the island. Come on in, come on, good girls. Hello, come on. The reason we went down that line was because we were looking for an animal that would generally look after itself. And as you can see by the countryside up here, it's the ideal animal for this kind of area. They're a pretty hardy breed. Very small feet, so the compaction on the ground is very low. They're not a big, heavy animal like a continental animal. And they also have 2 coats of hair. So in the winter, when it's pouring down or sleet or snow, they kind of very much look after themselves. They're very easy kept. I think farming is starting to be, I hope in the future, a more lucrative business. I think if you're a farmer, you have to be very positive. There are very low times and very few high times. But who would want to breed these? You know, these are, you know, if you're a farmer, you want to breed what you enjoy doing. It's a lifestyle, and you've just, you know, it's a way of life. You don't do it for the money. I'm a 4th or 5th generation farmer here now on the farm. I suppose really I've always wanted to farm from the day I was so high. So, you know, it was in my blood. I suppose I grew up with it, yeah. This is what we do. This is what we want to do. So, yes, it's great life, great challenge.
Tradition is very important for the Manx people. They're proud of their country and their own language. Manx Gaelic is related to the Scottish and Irish Gaelic. It's kept alive by the songs of Ruth Keggin. She often comes to her favourite place on the west coast of the island for inspiration.
A few generations ago, my family spoke Manx as their first language and didn't have any English. But my parents and grandparents don't speak Manx fluently. They have little phrases and little words, and I grew up listening and hearing those phrases and those words. I just went away to university, and that's when I kind of realised how special the Isle of Man was. It sometimes takes leaving a place to understand what you've got. While I was studying music, I was learning some Scottish Gaelic, which is Scottish Gaelic, and then I suddenly thought, well, why am I learning Scottish when I could be learning Manx? That's my family's language, my island's language, and so I decided I would start to learn properly, and that's when I did. Particularly in recent years, there's been professional bands from the Isle of Man, such as myself with my band under Ruth Keggin, and Varul and Meclia, who are taking Manx music out and presenting it perhaps with a bit of a contemporary spin on it as well, to different audiences and bringing it out there. And that has helped a lot with getting and spreading the word about Manx music and language.
Chassid na grainians man and vec fin, tin cheer as a king and lion
Kristian is Manx. His job is his calling.
I'd seen a farrier shimming horses' feet, and at that time you're looking to be what employment you're going to do for the rest of your life, and I thought I liked that job. I started working here when I left school as an apprentice farrier, shoeing the horses. That was on Monday, May the 7th, 1973. And I've been here ever since. You know when you look at the foot what size it's going to take, and you get a shoe and you just try it to see whether it fits, is right for the horse, and then you have to heat it up and work it accordingly to get the shape of the horse's feet.
Michael Krellin shoes horses for the public transport in Douglas. The island has the oldest tram track in the world.
In the 70s, we would be running in the height of the season at least 16 or more trams out there. There was a lot more holidaymakers then. That would be a tram every 2.5 minutes in the height of the day.
Nowadays, the tram runs every 15 minutes, but only during the summer months. The Isle of Man used to be a popular tourist spot for the English, until cheap charter flights started taking them to Europe's warmer south. Sarah studied in England and Wales and then returned home. Together with her photographer friend, Jessie Razzle, she's working on an art project. The island weather is also a challenge for a fashion designer.
It's not always this windy. So having quite a lot of fun. I think we have sprayed in the wind before,
Yeah,
though.
probably.
You know, we don't get, because Jessie's based in London and I'm based here, we don't get to spend a lot of time sort of scheduling in spray days and waiting for the weather. Yeah, you just got to make it happen when you're able to. So, you know, makes it more exciting. Bit of fun. The concept is alchemy, so transformation, gold, and it's almost as though your soul is the alchemist. It's like evolving as a person. We were working with people who we know and care about and who we feel are like, you know, kindred spirits and naturally come out as who they really are.
For the photo shoot, Sarah is making clothing from foils. She makes all the unique pieces herself. They are tailored or stuck to the models' bodies.
Stepping into it. Okay.
So sticky as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And we'll tape you in there, and then we'll just fit the back bit. Perfect. If I'm working on a design idea, I need space and I need quiet and I need to just be able to get a bit lost.
Yeah.
In my own little world. But when you're working, you know where you're heading, you've got the vision in your head, so you've got a picture that you're going for.
Yeah. A few days now. Cool, they're really pretty temporary tattoos, so I hope you don't mind.
We've had great success working like that, having a comfortable atmosphere, working on themes that we enjoy and getting good photographs from people who've never modelled before but who feel comfortable and sort of bring their personality and their own style and ways to the photo shoot, and we get something really magical there.
Ooh. Ooh, that's nice.
That's beautiful.
Woohoo!
It's surprisingly comfortable. Yeah, I'm not sure when I start moving whether it will be different, but right now it feels really comfy.
Do you reckon?
And I don't plan on getting married, so I feel like I'm having my day of like having a dress fitted and this is my wedding.
This is your moment.
moving just very slowly, just really gently. Beautiful. Wonderful. Yeah, we'll get some more movement in the dress then.
For such a small population, the number of artists who live here is just incredible. And I think because it's an island nation and we have this island way of sort of maybe being a bit insular, you work really hard with what you've got. The sea is between you and everything else. And so it's this little hotspot for creativity. Hopefully one day I will be able to make a living from it. But right now I'm really enjoying, my work and art balance.
An island in permanent transition, whilst still being a place that remains true to its history like almost nowhere else.